Hi everybody, and welcome to our AP Lazer workshop on this fine, wonderful Friday. I'm hoping everybody's having a great day out there. So what we're going to be working with today is I kind of thought I'd give you guys a break from doing some photo processing and get back to some basic things. So what we're going to be etching on is actually some wine glasses here. And I picked these wine glasses up at Walmart. I got a 4-pack for like $12 for very inexpensive. But I've tested them out and they seem to be working really well on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to actually create a file completely from scratch here. We're going to design this all of ourselves, and then how to properly set up our Rotary tool, and we're going to give you some tips and tricks to hopefully help you out with your Rotary tool. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and dive into Lightburn and get this opened up. So what I thought would be nice is to do kind of like a little monogram thing. So kind of one of those things where you've got like a big letter and a name in the middle, like a last name or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here first to my text tool, and I'm going to click there, and I'm just going to get me a letter. So there we'll do maybe a Miller, so we'll start with an M. So once I have that selected, I'm just going to move this over, and I'm going to go to the top here for my font and just find a little bit fancier, nicer font here. So I'm going to click here. You can see as I'm scrolling through here, it's automatically changing that M there for me. And find something a little bit different. How about something like that? All right. Select my image here, move it back over. And so what I actually want to do is I actually want to kind of separate this a little bit. And I'm going to put some bars here. We're going to do some welding. So first thing I want to do is actually kind of want to chop this apart. So I'm going to come over here to my rectangle tool. And I'm going to draw out a shape here. Grab my pick tool again. And kind of bring it over to see kind of where I would like that separation or that cut to be at. Maybe about in there so we can kind of see that M. Drag this down just a little bit more. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and select everything, and I'm going to come up here and just make sure that we're kind of centered in there. Looks nice. I'm going to go ahead and select everything again, and what you have is you have your welding tools over here. Okay, and sometimes it's a little confusing on, what type of welding should I be using. So if you click on something, you're having to undo it. I did notice this newer feature in here. So if we come up to tools here, and we can see that all of our welding tools are right here. Well, we have this Boolean assistant. So if we actually click this, what this does, it showcases what exactly is going to go on here and how this is going to separate. So instead of having to click on something, not liking the look, and backtrack, this makes it real quick and easy just to cycle through these options. So I'm actually going to do a subtraction here. So I'm going to go ahead and click that and then hit OK. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to add in a couple bars on here. So I'm again going to come over here to my square tool and just kind of draw out a nice thin bar here. Grab my pick tool, and I'm just going to kind of bring it over. And what I wanted to do, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, is we want it to overlap because we're going to end up welding this bar on here. So I'm going to come here and just stretch this out a little bit. Kind of centered in there, a little bit thinner. And once I've got this one drawn here, I'm going to go ahead and select it. And I'm going to copy and paste this. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my Control C and then Control V. Copy that, and then I'm going to kind of place that out in that location there. What we can do to make sure that this is equal here is we're going to go ahead and again select everything. And we're going to come up to our Align tools and just kind of align this way. What you can also do is if you look up here where your X and Y positionings are, that's going to show you those locations. So we see our X, which is our left and right, is at 8.8071. And if I click this one, there we go. You can see here my X, it's exactly the same. So that's kind of reconfirming that everything is sitting in the same spot there. So what I'm going to do from here is go ahead again, select this, and then I'm going to weld this together. So again, what we can do, we can come up here to this Tools and Assistance, but you can kind of see that that's blocked out, because really what we're doing is just welding these two shapes together. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Weld, just like so. We're going to go ahead and type out now our middle name. So I'm going to grab my text tool. I'm just going to click anywhere in here. And Miller. Grab my pick tool again. And we'll go ahead and drop that down. Zoom in here. Let's go ahead and get that centered up now with everything else. So again, we're going to select everything, just like so. And then we're going to zoom in here. So now there's two real ways that we can do this. We can actually just weld this Miller all into one, make it just one single piece. Or what we can actually do is add in a little bit of a contour around it and get a little bit of a different look out of it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and select my text here. I'm going to come over here to my contour, or my offset. I'm going to select that, and that is way too high there. So bring that down. Yeah, maybe something nice like that. And I'm going to do a little bit of a sharper corner, just to match that a little bit better. Go ahead and hit OK. I'm going to go ahead and come over and shrink this down to size. Again, I just want this contour to kind of be overlapping a little bit, but I want my other text to kind of be left alone. Bring that down just a little bit more. A little bit too much on that. I'm just going to drag it up. And again, I'm just looking, I'm going to look to see where we're sitting at here. Kind of overlapping. We'll look up here. Bring this down just a little bit. All right. So what we want to do now is we don't want to select this entire Miller here. So I'm just going to select this outside contour, and you can see how it's selecting everything. And that's actually what we're going to want to weld now. So we're going to select that. I'm going to hold my Shift key, and I'm going to go ahead and select this outer shape here. So you can see with this dotted line here what's all been selected. And we'll go ahead and weld it like so. All right, looking good so far. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come over here to my mode, and I'm going to do a fill. And then we're going to go ahead and select this, and we'll preview it just to see kind of what it looks like. Everything looking pretty good. And there we go. All right. Looks good. So now let's go ahead and get this guy sized up based off of what we're looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my wine glass here, and I got a nice fabric measuring tape. I find this easiest to use when I'm using, round objects like tumblers and glasses. So I'm going to measure down, and I think we could probably get a good 2 1/4 tall on this. So go ahead and select everything. I'm going to make sure my ratio is locked here, and then just drop this down to 2.25. All right. Gives us a little bit over 2 1/4 wide as well, so that should look pretty nicely there. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and set my speed and power settings here. So I'm going to come over to my speed and power, double click, and I am using my rotary tool, so I tend to go a lot slower and really don't go over a speed of a 15. Especially when you're doing really lightweight things like this here, you don't want to go very fast at all. So I'm going to drop this down to a 10 speed, and I'm only going to use maybe light power on this because I don't want to gouge the glass. I just kind of want to etch into it, frost it up. So we're going to use maybe a, actually let's do a 14 speed or power. All right, and we'll change this interval up to 300. Hit OK. And we're going to come here to our laser. We're going to set our laser origin here. So my personal preference is I like to use the top center, or actually left center, because this is going to be hitting on sideways. That way I can kind of control where it's going to be at compared to the lip or the rim of the glass or cup. And we'll go ahead and rotate this. So in Lightburn, we actually do a -90 to switch it to the left. If you're using RD Works, you would actually use just a 90 degree. You can see it a little bit better. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and engage our rotary tool. Okay. And this is really where some errors can come up. And I'm going to kind of showcase a few things to watch out for, to kind of pay attention to. But what you want to do is, first off, you want to make sure that your machine is on before we engage this in the system. Okay. So I've got my 2616 already engaged or already turned on here. So I'm going to come up into my rotary. So we've got this rotary setup button here now. We can click. I'm using the roller. I'm going to go ahead and enable rotary. And I just want to double check. Yep, looks like my settings are correct here. And I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. So now what we're going to do, we're going to jump over the machine. We're actually going to power off and we're going to hook up. Now I got a few different angles and things we're going to kind of talk about at the machine wise, so I apologize, I don't have a stationary camera, so bear with me while it's going to probably get a little shaky here. So now that our rotary tool is engaged, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and power off here. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be plugging into our Y-axis. So right in the back here, this plug is what we're actually going to disconnect here. So I'm going to go ahead and put my camera down, kind of get it maybe into an angle there so you can see it a little bit better. All right. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to unplug this. I'm going to take my rotary tool and plug in. All right. Make sure that's nice and connected. And we're going to go ahead and power back on now. Now, what I want to show you here is that when you're resetting with the rotary tool, okay, a lot of people get really impatient. And what they want to do is they want to go ahead and hit escape and stop this from rotating or resetting. Now, there's a reason why we let that go. If I just hit escape here, we can see that the X and the Y has switched over to 10,000 millimeters. What this X and Y is, these are coordinates, okay? So we want the machine to rotate or to reset correctly so we know that the bed size is correct. Now, while this will work a lot of times, there's going to be that time or two that it's not going to work and you're going to run into issues, start getting error messages and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and power back off real quick and then power back on, and I'm going to let it go ahead and reset. Now, part of the reason that this is taking a little bit longer to reset is that when you are using flat work and you power the machine on for the first time, it actually goes back to that back left-hand corner, which is our 00 mark. And I'm actually put this down for a minute and go ahead and jump over here. So that 00 mark is located in the back left-hand corner of that machine, okay? And it's finding its working areas, its boundaries. With the rotary tool, it doesn't have a switch to tell it where its boundaries are at, okay? So what it's going to do, it's going to cycle through, and once it's done resetting and it can't find that switch, it's eventually just going to give up and say, okay, well, I'm just going to go to my last known positioning. which you want to pay attention to the control panel. A lot of times before I hook my rotary tool up, what I will actually do is I'll make my laser head go to the center of my bed and go ahead and hit origin from there. That way when the laser is done resetting with the rotary tool and it can't find that y-axis, it's automatically going to think that it's in the center of the table, which gives us that full working area. So especially if you're doing something like a full circumference, you want to make sure that that's set correctly. And again, not hit that escape key while it's resetting. We're also going to be working with a 3-inch lens. It's really hard to tell with this, but there is, we've got a curvature here, and it also dips down slightly here, okay? And I've got another clip that I ran a sample on. I did one with the 2-inch lens, and I did one with the 3-inch lens, just to kind of showcase like how that can dip out of focus and really give you like a really soft, light engraving compared to the rest of it. Now, while the 3-inch isn't great for real fine detail, it does a great job on these small little curvatures. Also works really well in the glass because it's producing a little bit bigger of a beam size, so it really helps smooth that out. And again, we're not going with a lot of high power. We don't want to gouge this. We just kind of want to get a nice frosted look on it. So almost done resetting here. Give this just a few more seconds. And then I'm going to show you my control panel again once this is done resetting and kind of help you showcase, like if you happen to forget where that center was, or I don't remember if I put my laser origin in the center, we're going to show you how to figure that out as well. All right, there we are. We're done resetting here. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, before my glass comes in here, I'm going to look at my control panel here. And again, I apologize about the shakiness here. So what I can do is I can actually arrow down all the way, and my rotary tool wheels are spinning, and that's going to put me at about 450 millimeters. See if I can focus in on that a little bit better. Maybe, yes, no, okay. So what I'm going to actually do, I'm just going to divide that by half, so I'm going to go up to the 225 range. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and hit origin that way. It's that y-axis is smack dab, or it thinks it's smack dab in the middle of our machine there, okay? The other thing that I want to do is, because I am using the rotary tool, it is really lightweight, really thin material, I want to slow my speed down. So what I can actually do is hit my speed button here, and you can see I've already got this down to 90 milliseconds here, okay? Typically your machine's going to be set to 200. What I normally like to do is I jump back and forth between like maybe 180, 190. That way I can just kind of arrow over here and get rid of one of those numbers and let me at 90 millimeters. Now this is not going to have any effect over the speed and everything that we had set at our computer here. Put this down. What that actually is doing is just adjusting for the keying, and it's adjusting for that framing speed there, okay? So let's go ahead and get our glass loaded up now that we've kind of got that dropped down. Again, I apologize about the shakiness there. So I'm going to go ahead and slide my laser head out of the way. My Y motor is not engaged. It's plugged into my rotary tool, so I don't have to worry. You're not going to damage anything by that. And I'm going to go ahead and get my glass laid in here. One thing that I kind of like to do, again, kind of just a little bit of a personal preference, just to make sure this is kind of rolling well on the free wheels, is I like to place that bottom stem, and kind of get it look inside here. I like to kind of put that bottom of that stem kind of in between my two roller wheels here, okay? Make sure that this little stopper here is not on the inside of the glass, that it's actually riding on the outside, okay? Get this out of here real quick. I'm going to go ahead and bring my laser head over now. And we're going to go ahead and check focus. Way too high here, so I'm actually going to raise my machine up. A little bit too much there. Go ahead and escape, and I'm going to bring this over to this side here. And you can see I'm way off there. So I actually need to adjust this down on the back end just a little bit. Double check. Bring my machine down just a little bit. All right, that looks pretty good right there. Just make sure that I'm centered up. I'm still a little bit high there. Now, when you're using the 3-inch lens, again, it's got a little bit bigger of a beam size. It's got a little bit more tolerance for when it starts dipping out of focus. So here I'm a little bit closer towards this back end here, which is okay. Oop, wrong button. All right, definitely high on that end. But overall, we're pretty well in focus there. All right, now typically when I'm using glass, I do like to coat it with just a little bit of dish soap. What that does just helps get a little bit of oxygen inside there, helps make that a little bit smoother of an engraving. What I like to use is just a foam brush here, and I got my big tub of Dawn. And I'm just gonna use the smallest of a drop here. Oop, a little too much. All right, a little goes a long way here. Again, I don't want to coat this. Make sure that you stay away from your wheels. As if the soap gets on there, obviously it's going to slip a little bit. All right, let's go ahead and make sure we'll send our laser over. Just want to double check. All right, 1014, 300 DPI. Left center. Okay, we are downloaded there. I'm going to go ahead and origin, and we'll frame out real quick. All right, we're looking a little good. Add a little bit of soap down this way. Okay, go ahead and close my lid. I'll try to position my webcam here so you guys can kind of see what's going on. All right, yeah, our laser's kind of in the way. Slide that back. And a little bit better angle there. All right, and let's go ahead and hit start. All right, while that's running, shouldn't take us real long here. If anybody's got any questions here, I'll be more than happy to kind of answer the best that I can. Thank you, Iron Glider. I'm glad you guys are enjoying these workshops. I try to get, I'm trying to spice it up a little bit more, use a little bit more different machines, different software, just to kind of make sure everybody's covered here. And of course, we got Frank from Pops Customs. He's always with us. And just to let you guys know too, if there's any videos you guys would like to see being done, please feel free to email me. You can always reach me by email. My email is very simple. It's Jason, Jason, at aplaser.com. I always love to hear from people. If you have suggestions or you want to see things, maybe I've done a video and you'd like to see it on a different software or something, by all means, please let me know. I've got Pops Custom asking a very good question. Did I adjust for the tapered glass? Because I'm kind of doing something kind of small right now, I didn't really go through and do that formula on there. I just kind of, I've kind of tested this out before, and again, because we're doing small, not too much of a difference there. Our engraving should just look just fine. I'm gonna kind of peek in here. All right, so far so good. I got another question. When I did the preview, it showed the R circle not be engraved, will that show on the final? So the inner side of that R actually probably will be engraved. Now, if you wanted to skip that, let me kind of show you this real quick. What you can always do, we'll look at our preview again, and yep, right there. We can see that being engraved. What you can actually do is set that, if you ungroup this, break this apart, you can actually select just this inside of that R, turn it to a separate layer just with 0 power, and a lot of times that will skip over that. The other thing you could do is break this apart too. You could add in a small little contour so it'll kind of etch a nice little border around there, and again leave that inside R blank there. Now, when we're done with the rotary tool here, I do want to point this out on how to properly disconnect the rotary tool, okay? So when you're done with the rotary tool, what you want to do is leave your machine on, turn it off in Lightburn or RDWorks, whatever program you're working with first, then go through, power off your machine and disconnect, okay? That way when your machine resets, it already knows that it's in the rotary mode, or in flat mode and not rotary. All right. So we finished up here, pretty quick and simple. All right. Oh, it did? Okay. So we're going to take a look here. I got this other webcam showed up. So let me get a good look at this. It's kind of hard to see. It's real light etching. But what I'll actually do with this a lot of times too, you can kind of see it there. I think it looks pretty good. Is I'm going to go switch off this camera real quick. I'm going to go ahead and wipe this down over here. Wash that off a little bit. All right, come back here. We'll take a look at this now that it's kind of drying up a little bit. You can kind of see it a little bit. Oop. All right, working on these angles here. Now what you can do to kind of make this stand out a little bit more is what I'll actually do is use a little bit of acrylic paint. That way you can kind of shine it up, you can paint it different colors, and it really kind of helps make that pop out a little bit. So what I'm going to do, wipe this down, make sure we don't have any water on here. A little bit of flakiness there. Now with this craft paint too, this stuff you can get it to be dishwasher safe. Very versatile. You can use it on a ton of different types of material, not just glass. But you can kind of see how that kind of frosts that up a little bit there. Back over to my program. And really kind of makes it stand out a little bit more. Again, I don't want to gouge that. I could probably have gone a little bit higher on power on there, but again, my general rule of thumb when I'm dealing with speed and power settings is start with the lower power settings, okay? If you start with the lower power settings, you can always increase the power and do a second pass on it. Or you can, you know, again, if it's kind of like cutting hair. You cut hair too long, it's perfectly fine. You still have room to work. Cut it too short, you're done. Same thing with speed and power settings. When you're testing these out, start on that lower end and then kind of increase gradually to kind of find the look that you're looking for. Keep in mind too with glass is really hard to determine what's going to be good engraving or not. So before you go out and spend a fortune on a bunch of different glasses, try to go find one particular brand or type, practice on that, make sure it's going to give you good quality, and then go ahead and buy bulk. Now I did want to show you this as well. This was one that I kind of tested out just to make sure that this material was going to work well. And it's, again, a little hard to see, but you can see this was with my standard 2-inch lens. You can see that I got really light engraving on here. Even when I tried to add in the acrylic paint, didn't really take it too well. So I flipped it over on the other side there, ran my 3-inch, and you can see that that came out a lot better. Now that I got paint all over my hand. So, got a couple questions here we're trying to jump into. Someone's asking what the soap is for. I typically use soap just to add in kind of like a small little barrier between the glass and the actual laser beam, especially when you're working with thin glass. That helps prevent it from cracking or fracturing. Also, it adds in a little bit of oxygen and helps smooth out that engraving a little bit. Someone asked, the spray you use for stainless steel engraving, can it be used for the wine glass? No, so typically Surmark is only for metal marking. Now, they do have some glass stuff out there. Honestly, I've not had the best success with that, the glass. On top of that, it gives you a black look to it, and at $75, $85 a can, I can perform the exact same thing by just adding in black paint for $1.75. If it's something you want to experiment around with, play with, absolutely go ahead and try it out for yourself. Again, me personally, I didn't have the greatest results, and that's why I kind of shy away from it. So great question again. If I was at a 14 and I wanted to increase for a second pass, how much would I increase it by? So honestly, that's a great question, and that is kind of a variable question because it may change. It's all going to be depending on the look that I've actually achieved on here. Now, something like this, I may only go up maybe 2 to 3 power on it, okay? If it's really light, I may go up to a 5. Me personally, I typically try not to go above 5, so if I'm going at a 15, I don't want to go to like a 25, 30. I want to go to maybe a 15 to a 20, 20 to 25, and so forth and so forth. Again, that's kind of my personal preference. Everybody does it a little bit different, but yeah, just slow increments. And Frank's saying, yeah, Dollar Tree, honestly, I agree 100% with this statement from Frank. Dollar Tree has some of the best glass, or more consistent glass, I would say, that I find more laserable. We had another customer, he did a fantastic post in our user group. I'm not sure if anybody can find that again, but he basically had 2 glasses. One turned out beautiful, the other one was pretty rough looking. And he basically said he ran both these same files, same speed and power settings. The one that didn't turn out well was this really expensive glass that he bought from TJ Maxx. And the one that turned out great looking was from the dollar store. So again, just because you're buying a high dollar piece of glass does not necessarily mean that that's going to engrave great, okay? So again, test out before you buy anything in bulk. Somebody else is asking, what paint do I use that is dishwasher safe? So Apple Barrel is kind of my preferred one. It comes in a variety of it. I think this one here is just a matte. Don't believe this one here is quite for the dishwasher, but I do have the other type that is a little bit more glossier, that is dishwasher safe, and typically it will say that right on the bottle for you. So if you look at it, it's nice and bold right up front, it says dishwasher safe. All right, it was kind of a quick video today. You know, again, I just kind of want to showcase some things. Again, making something from scratch. A lot of times when we're working with Lightburn, you see me just tracing images that are already out there or I found. So I thought this would be a good way to kind of discuss like the welding, different ways to weld, along with kind of covering some, you know, common errors that we see with the rotary tool and things like that. So in fact, what I'm going to go ahead and do for you guys now is I'm going to go ahead and disconnect my rotary. So I'm going to come back into my system here. I'm going to go ahead and click on my rotary. I'm going to click off on my enable rotary. Go ahead and hit OK. And then go ahead and power off. And we're going to go disconnect and hook up our Y rotary, or our Y axis motor. And go ahead and power on. Now, just to let you know, if one very common thing that will happen if you disengage this rotary tool wrong is that you will only be able to come up like halfway on your Y-axis. It won't come all the way forward for you. Real quick good indicator that you want to go back in there. Sometimes I know with light burn it can be a little glitchy with that rotary tool. Maybe just turn it on, turn it back off again, power off your machine and let it reset. Another great question, is light burn the only software should use to design for glass items? No, absolutely not. I typically use a lot of Corel. You can use Adobe. There's a lot of different programs out there that you can use. I typically like to go back and forth just for these videos on showing people how to do things in Lightburn, and then maybe I'll do the exact same kind of project in Corel Draw. I'm a little bit more proficient with Corel Draw. I've worked with it for many years, but I know a lot of new users are kind of watching these videos, and Lightburn is a very popular program, and I'm playing around a lot more with it. I think I had another question on one of my other videos. Somebody had asked when we were doing the photo processing, like, oh, is Lightburn the only way that you can photo process, not use Photograve? I've actually been experimenting with the high resolution with Photograve, and I'm able to get the exact same equal excellent results out of it. And I'll probably showcase that video probably maybe next month. We'll kind of redo that high resolution photo engraving, maybe with some different material. Haven't quite decided yet, but with that program I'll probably use Photograve just to show that yes, this is capable of being able to do photo paint, Photograve, or Lightburn, whatever program you're looking for. We're going to try to help you out with that. Got a couple other questions. Frank saying, looking forward to seeing you in Houston. Yeah, actually, we're going to be down in Houston here in October for LazerCon. I unfortunately won't be there. I'm going to be up here making these fine videos for you guys. I'm hoping to get out to maybe a convention or some more this year. I'd love to meet everybody in person. I know we're going to IWF at the end of the month here in Atlanta. So if you're around that area and you'd like to come see our booth and meet some of our excellent salespeople, please feel free to do so. Reach out to your salesperson. I'm sure they can get you a pass to come in and see us. You want to see a demo? We'll be down there demoing the machine. Have a lot of good giveaways going on, a lot of show specials as well. Someone else asking here, when engraved glass on wine bottles, can you use the paint to make the engraving pop? Yes, absolutely. I'm a firm believer in using the acrylic paint. I love using the acrylic paint, not only just for the glass work, for a ton of different types of material. I use it for granite, I use it for wood, all kinds of different things. So really, at like $1.75, $2, you really can't beat, and this goes a long way too. But yeah, use it on wine glasses, use it on bottles, whatever you can think of. So I'll go ahead and leave this open for a few more minutes to see if anybody else has any questions. Kurt, you're very welcome. Again, I'm glad everybody is enjoying these classes. I hope you find them informative and useful. If you have any questions over this video, any of our other videos, feel free, again, reach out to me. You can get a hold of me through email, jason@aplazer.com. It is at the bottom of the screen there. Also, feel free to give our tech support team a call, 844-364-8211. They'll be more than happy to kind of point you in the right direction, help you out with any of these file setups or anything like that. So I've got a couple more questions here. Do I find using the new lowrider is easier when adjusting height versus raising the cart? Actually, I do. For the 2616, and we're going to be coming out with one for the 1812 as well. I do actually find it a little bit easier to use. I can raise this up and down. I also have the cart to do that with. What's really nice about the 2616 is I've often found myself on certain materials where even if I lower my honeycomb all the way down, I still don't have enough height there. Maybe if I'm doing like a large urn or something like that. So I find being able to lower this down and raise the machine up at the same time gives me a lot of more extra play there. I really have been playing around with the 2616. I do find it's a very nice machine. I've done some beautiful portraits off of it. I'm going to start utilizing it a little bit more along with our 1812 there. I know everybody knows my favorite machine is the 4836, but I do play with all of them. I got a couple more questions here. What did I use to rub paint? I just used just a paper towel, nothing special. You can use, I don't find sponges work too well, but yeah, just a little bit. I put it on there, rub it on, and then I wipe the rest of it off. And a lot of times that'll absorb into the etching itself. And if you don't find that it's bright enough, let it dry for a little bit, add in a second coat, and you can continue to do that. Got another question here from Matt. I know you talked about the different powers for different materials. So you have a cheat sheet available for the different recommendations for the powers to use for what materials for starting. Yes, absolutely. In our owner's manual, there is a recommended or suggested speed and power settings. And they're just kind of baseline settings. I am working on tweaking those in a little bit more. But they're a great place to start. You know, start with that, see what kind of results that you get, and kind of adjust accordingly. So if you're blowing it out of that speed and power, drop that power down a little bit. You know, you're using the Rotary tool, you find it's too fast. We also on our AP Lazer University site have a speed and power grid that you can download and use. And basically it's just a couple circles, excuse me, where you can actually set each one of these circles for different speed and powers, and then have them all etch at one time at those different speed and power settings so you can kind of find a comfortability. Now once you have those down, what you can do, I'm going to showcase this in here real quick. Lightburn, RDWorks both have the same kind of feature where once you have these settings down pat, you can actually save them to your library. Let me get, all right, here's my library tab right here. If you don't have that library tab, come up here to Window and down here to Library. And what you can do is once you have that layer set, you would create from a new layer. You can then name the material. So maybe this is wine glass. Not cutting, so I don't really need a thickness. And then I can put in a title. Maybe vector, etching, whatever the case may be, and then go ahead and hit OK. So then when you come back to do this again, you can actually just click on this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to select everything, and I'm just going to select a different layer here. That. So I can double click on that so you can see that it's that 0.5, 100% power. Make sure that that's a fill. Oop, exit it out of my library. And then what I can do, select my wine glass, vector etching, and what I'm going to do is assign. And then there's our speed and power settings right there along with our interval. So again, test these settings out, save them. It'll make your life a whole lot simpler. What's nice about this too, both with RDWorks and Lightburn, is you can actually save these settings out into a folder onto a thumb drive. So if something happens and your computer crashes and you have to reinstall things and you don't have those settings, you can always bring them in. Asking, will the lowrider 1812 lowrider frame be available as an add-on? Frank, I don't have a lot of answers about that quite yet. That's still in the developmental stage. As soon as I get more information, though, I'll be making sure to reach out to you and kind of keep you up to date on that. Can you raise and lower all 2616s electrically? No, you cannot. So basically the 2616s are all the same machine, okay? The difference is actually the carriage cart here. So this is actually an electrical carriage cart, but I do believe that we are going to be making these and make them for all the 2616s. So if you would like to call and order one of these, that you can absolutely do that, and your 2616 that you currently have will fit on it. All right, just give everybody just a couple more minutes. Anybody else has any more questions? So again, I do appreciate you guys all showing up today. Again, hopefully you guys find these videos informative and helpful. Again, any questions, just shoot me an email. I'll be more than happy to help you out any way that I can. So we'll go ahead and jump off here. I hope you guys all have a great Friday, have an even better weekend. Until next week, bye everybody.